And what about the fundraising process? How was that? Tell me a little bit about your experience. How long did it take? What did you find that you could find a decent amount of investors and VCs that are there? Because I know that there are some
Mm.
in blockchain. Or did you find that it took a little bit more convincing? Maybe they leaned a little bit more towards traditional tech still, or yeah. So tell me a little
Yeah,
about your experience with that.
sure. So regarding the fundraising process, so in the blockchain ecosystem, it's very different to traditional tech, right?
Okay.
When it comes to fundraising, when it's a bear market in the blockchain space, fundraising is tough. It's very very tough. We tried it, and we actually had to work 10 times harder and try to show a bit of traction before we managed to find a lead investor, um, and actually the follow-on investors as well before we could close our round. Um, but when it's a bull market, every Tom, Dick, and Harry will invest,
That's
and
funny.
there's a
Yeah.
higher valuation, and so it's one of those things where you have both extremes depending on the market when it comes to fundraising in the blockchain space. One extreme when it's in the bear market, but one in the bull. Whereas in traditional tech, it's a bit more balanced in the middle,
Yeah.
depending on how the market is. And but I would say, of course, in traditional tech, the getting that first check or lead investor would require way more traction or way more
Right.
um,
Adoption, usage, yeah, revenue, things like that. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
rather than in blockchain, because blockchain is so experimental at this moment. It's it's more like, okay, we see it as a more of a long term thing, and there'll probably be tokens, and therefore there could be an earlier liquidity event at some point.
Right.
um, but I would say we were probably one of the only companies which managed to raise an equity round as opposed to just a token only round.
Okay. So
Because
explain the difference between an equity round and a token.
yeah, so I mean,